DEI may play a major role in the 2024 presidential election. At least that's the story that I wrote this week for the New York Post about Kamala Harris possibly being the next president of the United States. There is this movement afoot to not do traditional standards when picking people for jobs and do it along the lines of diversity, equity, and inclusion. My piece basically said if you want to see how widespread this practice is, and it's throughout corporate America, you have to look at how Kamala Harris became vice president. And I think one thing that's pretty clear is that most Americans want diversity. They believe in it. They think it's a necessary part of American society. We are a much diverse nation now than we were 10 years ago and 30 years ago, definitely. However, DEI is different. It's a very, very crude instrument in essentially trying to create equity as opposed to equality. And it basically says that characteristics such as race and gender are basically more important than skills. And Joe Biden essentially said that, and that's what my piece brought up. I talked about how during a debate, I think it was against Bernie Sanders, he said, I'm going to definitely pick a woman as my vice president. This is back in 2020 for the 2020 race. Not long after that was the whole George Floyd incident where DEI became just sort of the status quo throughout corporate America and in society in general, academia definitely. And then the pressure on him, I went back and I interviewed people, was just enormous to pick a black woman. So what he essentially did in picking Kamala Harris, she checked a lot of boxes. She was a prosecutor. She was a U.S. senator, but she also checked those other boxes as well. And that seemed to reign supreme more than the qualification boxes, because if you look at her qualifications, they were pretty mediocre at the time. She didn't do very well in the primaries. She was out of the race very early. If you read the accounts of how her whole campaign blew up, complete disarray, basically staff turmoil, toxic work environment is how some people called it. And the question became, what specific qualifications did she bring to the table? And when you talk to people, and I talked to Democratic insiders, they said she's African American. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother, and that was the main reason why she got picked out of that limited pool, which was all women. Now the question is going forward, is this the way you want a country to be run? And I think the President of the United States is an important job. You want the best possible person, particularly as vice president, because that vice president, particularly when it comes to Joe Biden, who's older and, as we know, might drop out now, he might have to leave. So you essentially are giving this position to someone that may be the leader of the free world. And there are questions about her competency, and I'm not the first to raise this. I put it in the context of the broader DEI business debate, which my column on The Money will get into in other pieces.